If your dog suddenly starts avoiding you and not coming when you call, walking away when you sit down next to them, or quietly choosing another room, there's a reason, and it's probably not the one you're thinking. Most people jump to the same conclusion. They assume something is wrong between them and the dog, that the bond changed, that the dog became distant, or worse, lost interest. But that's not what's happening here, because in many cases, this behavior isn't rejection. It's a response. And more importantly, it's a message. Now here's what most people miss. Dogs don't create distance without a reason. Not randomly, not emotionally in the way we imagine. There is always a trigger, a shift, something that changed even slightly, and chances are, you didn't notice it when it happened, but your dog did. And once that shift happens, their behavior starts adjusting in small, almost invisible ways. First, it's subtle. They take a second longer to come. They hesitate before getting close. They look at you, then choose not to move. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, until one day, you realize something feels different. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most owners react in a way that quietly makes it worse. They call the dog more often. They try to pull them closer. They reach out trying to reconnect, without realizing that every one of those attempts might be reinforcing the distance. Because the real question isn't just, why is my dog avoiding me? It's this, what changed from your dog's point of view? Because once you see that, everything starts to make sense. And in the next part, you'll notice the first shift that almost every owner overlooks. And it has nothing to do with behavior training. Now watch this closely, because the first change usually doesn't happen in your dog. It happens in you, and most people never notice it. You wake up a little more stressed than usual. Your day gets heavier. You move faster, think faster, carry more tension in your body. Nothing extreme, nothing that would make you stop and say, something's wrong. But your dog notices immediately. Not your thoughts, not your words, your state. The way you walk into the room, the way your shoulders sit, the way your voice sounds when you call them. And this is where it gets interesting. You can say the same word, your dog's name, for example, in two completely different ways. One feels open, the other feels tight. To you, it's subtle. To your dog, it's everything. And here's something most people overlook. Your dog doesn't analyze you. They don't try to understand why you feel different. They only register one thing. Something changed. So what do? They adjust. They slow down. They hesitate. They create just a little bit of space to read the situation better. Not because they're afraid of you, but because they're unsure of what version of you they're dealing with in that moment. And that hesitation, that tiny pause before they come to you, is often the very first sign. But it doesn't stop there. Because here's the part that really shifts things. It's not just how you feel. It's what starts happening around those moments. You call your dog while distracted. You reach for them while they're resting. You insist a little more when they don't respond right away. From your perspective, it feels like effort, like you're trying to connect. But from your dog's perspective, those moments start to feel slightly uncomfortable. Not painful, not scary, just a bit too much. And when something feels a bit too much often enough, your dog starts making a quiet decision. Maybe I'll stay here instead. Not rejection, not disobedience, just distance as a form of balance. But this still doesn't explain everything. Because if it were only about your energy, this behavior would be constant. And it's not, which means something else is layered underneath. Something far more overlooked and much easier to miss. Now here's the part almost no one checks, because it doesn't look like a problem at all. Your dog might be avoiding you because something hurts, not in an obvious way, not limping, not whining, nothing dramatic, which is exactly why it goes unnoticed. Watch this. Your dog is lying down. You walk over, reach to pet them like you always do. For a split second, their body stiffens, just slightly. You don't think much of it. You pet them anyway. They stay still. Everything seems normal, but something just happened. That small moment, that tiny tension gets stored. Not consciously, but physically. And the next time, your dog remembers, not you, the feeling. So what do? They stand up before you get there. They move to another spot. They avoid the interaction entirely. And suddenly it feels like they're avoiding you. But that's not what's happening. They're avoiding the possibility of discomfort. And this is where it gets even more subtle. It doesn't have to be real pain. It can be sensitivity, a sore muscle from running, a slightly inflamed joint, a tooth that bothers them when touched, even something internal like mild digestive discomfort. Things that don't stop your dog from being normal, but do change how much interaction they're willing to accept. And here's the key shift most people miss. If your presence is consistently followed by touch, movement, or engagement, your dog starts predicting it. Human comes close, something happens to my body. And if their body doesn't feel 100%, distance becomes the smarter choice. Not emotional, not personal, just practical. But here's where everything starts connecting. Physical discomfort alone doesn't explain why they avoid you specifically. Because dogs in discomfort still seek proximity, just on their own terms. So why create distance from the owner? That answer doesn't come from the body. It comes from memory, from patterns, from something your dog has already started to associate with you, without you ever noticing it happening. And once that association forms, the behavior becomes predictable, almost automatic. Now this is the part that quietly shapes everything. And it doesn't happen in one moment. It builds, repetition after repetition, small, ordinary interactions that don't seem important at the time. But your dog is paying attention to all of them. Watch how this usually plays out. You call your dog, they come, and something happens right after. Maybe you grab their collar. Maybe you move them from where they were comfortable. Maybe you clean their paws, interrupt their rest, or guide them somewhere they didn't choose to go. Nothing harsh, nothing wrong, but not something they would naturally choose either. Now repeat that a few times, different days, different contexts, same sequence. You call, they come, something slightly uncomfortable follows. And this is where the shift begins. Not instantly, quietly, your dog starts adding meaning to the pattern. Coming to you leads to something I might not enjoy. So next time you call, there's a pause, a fraction of a second. They look at you, then they look away, not ignoring you, calculating. And this is where most people misread the situation completely. They think, my dog is being stubborn. So they call again, a little louder, a little more insistent. And what happens next might surprise you. That extra pressure confirms the pattern. Now it's not just something uncomfortable might happen. It becomes, I don't have a choice when I get close. And for a dog, lack of choice changes everything. Because distance becomes the only way to regain control. So they start choosing it earlier, before you reach them, before you call again, before the pattern completes itself. And suddenly, you have a dog that doesn't want to be near you. But that's not the real story. The real story is this. Your dog isn't avoiding you. They're avoiding a sequence they've learned to predict. And here's the twist most people never consider. You didn't teach this intentionally. You built it unintentionally, through normal, everyday interactions. Which means, you can also change it. But not by trying harder. Not by calling more. Not by closing the distance faster. It changes when the pattern changes. And in the final part, you'll see exactly what your dog is waiting for before they choose to come back close again. Now everything connects. The hesitation, the distance, the moments where your dog looks at you and chooses not to come closer. It was never random. And it was never about your dog pulling away from you as a person. It was about what your presence started to mean. Because from your dog's perspective, every interaction answers one simple question. What happens if I go there? And for a while, that answer became slightly unclear, slightly uncomfortable, slightly out of their control. So they chose distance. Not emotionally, not dramatically, just logically. Now here's the shift that changes everything. Imagine your dog lying down again. You walk into the room, but this time, nothing happens. You don't call them. You don't reach for them. You don't interrupt their space. You just exist there, calm, predictable, readable. Your dog looks at you, waits. Nothing happens. A few seconds pass. Still nothing. And this is where something subtle begins to change. The pattern breaks. For the first time in a while, your presence doesn't lead to pressure. It doesn't lead to expectation. It doesn't lead to something being taken away from them. It just stays neutral, safe. Now watch what happens next. Your dog shifts their weight. Maybe they stretch. Maybe they look at you again. And then, almost without thinking, they take a step closer. Not because you called them, not because you insisted, but because they chose to. And that choice is everything. Because connection that is chosen is stronger than connection that is requested. And here's the part most people never realize. You don't rebuild closeness by pulling your dog in. You rebuild it by removing the reasons they felt the need to step away. By becoming consistent, easy to read, predictable in a way that feels safe, not controlling. And when that happens, the distance fades on its own. Your dog stays a little longer, leaves a little less, responds without hesitation, until one day, there is no gap left to notice, just presence. Calm, mutual, unforced. And when your dog comes back to you like that, feels different, not automatic, not routine, but intentional, like they're saying in the only way they know how, this feels right again. And once you understand that, you don't just fix the behavior, you change the relationship.